Welcome back to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to understand how, sometimes, just one single document can try to rewire the rules for literally millions of government jobs.
It's true. And today we are definitely digging into one of those. It's Executive Order 14170.
And the title doesn't pull any punches, does it? Reforming the Federal Hiring Process and Restoring Merit to Government Service, signed January 20th, 2025.
Exactly. It's very direct. This isn't just tweaking things around the edges. It signals a pretty fundamental shift in how the government aims to recruit and hire.
So our job today for you is to break this down. We want to look at the actual language, the changes it mandates for the federal workforce, and, the thinking behind it.
Right. Without getting lost in all the government speak. We want to make it clear.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning. Section 1. What problem does this executive order say it's trying to fix? What's the diagnosis here?
Well, the order's pretty blunt. It states right up front that current federal hiring is, and I'm quoting here, broken, insular, and outdated.
Broken, insular, and outdated. Strong words.
Very. And it goes on to claim these practices no longer focus on merit, practical skill, and dedication to our Constitution. So the stated goal is about bringing in, quote, the highest caliber of civil servants.
Okay, highest caliber. But then it gets quite specific about what shouldn't be considered part of merit, right? There are some explicit restrictions mentioned.
Yes, and this is where the language gets sensitive. The AO states that federal hiring should not be based on what it calls impermissible factors.
And we should be clear about what those are, according to the text.
According to the text, these include things like, quote, one's commitment to illegal racial discrimination under the guise of equity, end quote.
Okay.
And another is, quote, one's commitment to the invented concept of gender identity over sex, end quote.
So the justification given in the order for excluding these specific factors.
The order claims that including these kinds of factors subverts the will of the people and risks the government losing out on the best, most qualified candidates for the job.
So if I'm hearing this right, the order isn't just saying these factors are irrelevant. It's framing them as actively harmful to finding good people and serving the public.
That seems to be the core argument, yes. It's essentially redefining merit. It's trying to shift the focus towards, let's say, technical skills, demonstrated abilities, and what the administration views as a proper dedication to the Constitution, and importantly, faithful service within the executive branch itself.
Right, so it connects competence directly to a specific ideological stance, or at least away from stances it defines as problematic.
Precisely. It sees those restricted factors not just as neutral, but as getting in the way of efficiency and proper function.
Okay, so that's the philosophical underpinning. A major shift in defining merit. Now, how does the order propose to actually do this? What are the concrete steps, the mechanisms, the deadlines?
Well, this is where Section 2 comes in, and it's really the engine of the order. It mandates the creation of a big federal hiring plan.
A plan. And there's a deadline for that too, isn't there?
Oh, yes, a very tight one. This plan has to be developed and sent out to all the agency heads within 120 days of the order being signed.
Wow, 120 days. That's ambitious for drafting something government-wide.
It's incredibly ambitious. About 4 months to reshape potentially the entire federal hiring apparatus.
And who's tasked with putting this plan together so quickly?
The responsibility falls mainly on the Assistant to the President for Domestic Policy, but they have to consult closely with some key players.
Let me guess. OMB.
OPM. You got it. The Director of the Office of Management and Budget, the Director of the Office of Personnel Management, and also the Administrator of the relatively new Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE.
Okay, so you've got the policy lead, the money people, the HR people, and the efficiency experts all in the room. That sounds like a team designed to push this through.
It certainly seems structured that way, and the order specifies exactly what needs to be in this plan. There are 7 key components listed.
Let's walk through those. What's number 1?
First, prioritize recruiting people who are committed to efficiency, American ideals, and upholding the rule of law and the Constitution. It's about alignment right from the start.
And number 2, seems related.
It is. It explicitly says the plan must prevent hiring based on race, sex, or religion. And it adds preventing the hiring of those unwilling to defend the Constitution or serve the executive branch faithfully.
Okay, so the first 2 are really about the who and their alignment. What about the how, the actual process?
That's component 3. It mandates using technical and alternative assessments to the greatest extent possible. It even points to the Chance to Compete Act of 2024 as the basis for this.
So less focus on just resumes and interviews, perhaps, more on skills tests, practical evaluations.
That seems to be the push. More demonstrable skill, less reliance on traditional credentialing or self-reporting, maybe?
And then comes the big one, the
Yeah.
number that everyone's probably talking about.
Yes. Mandate number 4. The plan must include a specific, measurable goal to decrease the government-wide time to hire to under 80 days.
Under 80 days. Let's just pause on that. For you listening, the average time to hire in recent years has often been reported as, what, over 100 days? Sometimes closer to 180 for certain positions.
That's right. GAO reports have shown averages well over 100, sometimes pushing towards 200 days. So getting under 80 is, well, it's a massive cut, more than halving the average time in many cases.
It's a huge efficiency target. What else does the plan need to cover to support that kind of speed?
Well, points 5, 6, and 7 seem geared towards that. 5 is about improving communication with candidates, keeping them updated on status, timelines, giving feedback, basic customer service almost.
Which often gets lost in the current system, frankly.
It can, yes. Number 6 is about integrating modern technology, data analytics, digital platforms to make the process smoother and more engaging.
Bringing federal hiring into the 21st century, maybe?
That seems to be the idea. And finally, number 7 is about leadership involvement. It mandates that agency leadership needs to be actively involved throughout the hiring process.
Not just leaving it to the HR department down the hall.
Exactly. The message seems to be, this is a leadership priority, not just an administrative function.
That definitely signals a seriousness about implementing these changes. Okay, so we have the philosophy, we have the plan's required elements. What about the scope? Does this hit all parts of the government equally, or are there specific areas getting more attention?
It's broad, but there's a specific focus highlighted in Section 2C. It talks about improving the allocation of senior executive service, the SES positions.
Ah, the SES. That's the top layer of career managers, right? The ones who bridge political appointees and the career civil service.
Precisely. And the order says the plan needs strategies for these SES roles, specifically within certain agencies.
Which agencies are singled out?
It lists all the cabinet departments, naturally. But then it adds a specific list: the EPA, OMB, the Small Business Administration, SBA, Social Security Administration, SSA, the National Science Foundation, NSF, OPM itself, and the General Services Administration, GSA.
That's an interesting mix. You've got major regulators, budget management hubs, science, social services, and the government's landlord and HR agency.
It seems targeted towards agencies with significant regulatory, financial, or public-facing service roles, plus the core administrative bodies.
And the stated reason for focusing on SES allocation in these places.
The order says it's to best facilitate democratic leadership as required by law within each agency. So it's about ensuring the career leadership is aligned with the administration's direction and, presumably, the new definition of merit.
Reshaping management to align with the new priorities. Makes sense, strategically. Now, how is all this going to be tracked? An 80-day hiring goal sounds great, but who checks if it's actually happening? What's the accountability?
That falls largely on OPM, the Office of Personnel Management. Section 3 lays this out. OPM has to set up clear performance metrics.
Metrics to track success, presumably including that time to hire number.
Yes, and they have to request regular analysis from all the agencies on how they're doing against these metrics. So ongoing monitoring.
Is OPM doing this in a vacuum, or are they talking to anyone else?
No, the order specifically says OPM needs to consult, not just with the other federal agencies, but also with federal labor organizations, the unions, and other stakeholders.
Interesting. So the unions get a seat at the table, at least for monitoring progress.
It seems so. That could be crucial for understanding the real-world impact on the workforce and potentially smoothing implementation or highlighting problems.
Okay, one last piece. Are there any limits? Does this order just sweep away everything, or are there boundaries stated in the text itself? Section 4, the general provisions.
Right. Section 4 has the standard language you often see. It clarifies that the order doesn't override existing laws or the legal authority of agencies.
So it can't make an agency do something illegal.
Correct. It also states it doesn't affect the budget functions of OMB, which are set by Congress, or the monetary policy rules of the Federal Reserve. Standard separation of powers stuff.
Got it. And there's usually a disclaimer in these things about lawsuits, right?
Yes, and it's important for you to know this is here. The order explicitly says it does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law or in equity.
Meaning?
Meaning if you're an applicant or an employee and you feel this new process wronged you somehow, you can't point to this executive order itself as the basis for suing the government. You'd need some other legal grounds.
Okay, that's a critical piece of context. So let's try to wrap this all up for you. What are the main takeaways from EO 14170?
Well, it's clearly a major effort to overhaul federal hiring. It redefines merit to focus on technical skills and a specific view of dedication to American ideals and the Constitution.
While explicitly excluding factors like commitment to equity initiatives or concepts like gender identity, framing those as detrimental.
Exactly. And it aims for radical efficiency. That under 80-day hiring target is the headline number. It mandates new assessment methods, better tech, and more leadership involvement.
With a special focus on reshaping the senior executive service in key agencies to ensure alignment from the top down.
It's a fast, detailed, and ideologically driven attempt to change not just the process, but the very nature of the federal workforce.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. This whole ambitious plan seems to really hinge on hitting that incredibly fast, under 80-day hiring metric.
It definitely puts a huge emphasis on speed.
So here's the question. If the goal is truly to find the absolute highest skilled people who need careful vetting for both their technical abilities and this newly defined ideological alignment, can the government realistically do both things, be incredibly thorough and incredibly fast within that 80-day window?
That's the tension, isn't it? What gets prioritized when the clock is ticking that loudly? Speed or depth?
What are the potential trade-offs? What pressures does that timeline put on the agencies doing the hiring and even on the candidates themselves? Something to think about.